Someone who has been participating in the works and who has been collaborating in many sectors has been wondering what the function of crops is here, because our energy and our attention is very channeled on the crops, and the person is asking if we wouldn't have more essential things to care about. In other words, if we couldn't buy food and then take care of other things here. Well, here we have crops not only to have food, it's not only for us to have things, pure things to nourish from, but it's also because of that. But that is not the main reason, because if it was just for this, we would just buy everything and bring them here. But there is a work parallel to this one, which is a work of collaboration between humankind, among humankind, devas, the plant kingdom and the mineral kingdom. So there is a conscious work which is not established on planet Earth, which does not exist on planet Earth in general, because agriculture on planet Earth and geology on planet Earth does not take care of this and doesn't know about this. So it's necessary, especially that in a spiritual center this work may take place, because this must be established on the planet, this collaboration between among humankind, the plant kingdom and devas, and also the mineral kingdom, which is the one of the soil. So this work of collaboration is very important and it should take place. And what could be happening is that we may emphasize a lot on the needs, the practical needs of crops, and it could be that we're not placing the due emphasis in the main part of this work, which is for us to discover how to collaborate in a more and more united way with the devas and with the plant kingdom and the mineral kingdom. The devas are this evolution parallel to us, and they take care of the manifestation of forms, the plant forms, the mineral forms as well. So when we are in the crops, we are also moving the Devic structure, a structure of beings in the inner planes, invisible beings who are the ones who build those forms and that participate in the life and development of those plants. So if we, at a certain point, placed this fact parallel to the fact of growing to eat and harvest, I think that everything is balanced. What cannot happen is to just take care of crops as a productive task and not considering our true task while we are dealing with the crops, which is to collaborate with the other kingdoms, with the plant kingdom, the mineral kingdom, and the Devic kingdom. This is what is necessary, and it's very clear. The group must be in charge of these two sectors and not only one, because if we only take about production, even if it's good, the work will be incomplete. So many people wonder the same, why should we apply so much time, so much energy on the crops while we could be studying, singing, doing so many other things which are closer to the soul according to that person? No. But for you to find means to collaborate with the devas, with the kingdoms, to collaborate with the evolution of life and nature, this is as important as everything, because if there is not this, the center is not complete. Crops are a field of service, a field of work for the devas of plants. And there are devas that are withdrawing from this work and going to other lines of devas because they cannot find humankind collaboration, that humans are presenting deformed GMO plants, poisoned plants, modified plants. Humankind is poisoning the earth, the waters, so there are very subtle devas which cannot bear this vibration. So crops, which are the field of their work, if those crops are done with this consciousness, it's a way for us to collaborate with those devas, which have this more subtle work to do. And there are works for the devas here on this planet, with the plant kingdom of this planet, which can only take place if there is a healthy environment in the crops, if there is a healthy, correct and harmonious way of planting, of taking care and harvesting. For instance, there are devas which are working in the plant kingdom, developing new species which will emerge in the new earth, the new cycle of the earth. And some devas are adapting certain species to a new cycle. So if we have a field that is all poisoned and in this harmony, I don't know if they'll be able to do it so close to the physical plane. So we should be in attunement with all of this, because then why we take care of crops so much here, materially and directly, but actually we are in charge of something else which is behind all this and within all this. But we must be aware and have this awareness present. Currently, we have an intuition that is developed enough to perceive which direction a plant species is trying to aim to. So when we work in crops, when we deal with that plant species, we could be facilitating that to take place. We could be facilitating it. So those who work with crops would have to be people, if they are very intuitive, which could have the awareness that they should become intuitive, because there is no knowledge here on earth. There is no knowledge of botanics, agriculture, about the change that the plant species should make. So if we're working in agriculture, we will be in contact with a series of knowledge, which is some precious knowledge, but it's a knowledge that is about the plant kingdom as it has always been. But as there is some change happening with the crops, the most intuitive people should be working with them, who have some vision to realize what a plant is asking for, what a seed is asking for us not to make a work against that flow. In these moments of transformation, of transition, there could be processes of dealing with the plants, of approaching to those plants in a different way, having different tools, different energies, so we won't repress what it is trying to connect. So we must keep this in mind. Our way of taking care of crops and the soil. Because until today we haven't discovered certain remedies for certain diseases, right? Sometimes we go to the doctor and he says, oh, we don't have medicines for that, we don't have treatments for that, right? That is the lack for us to communicate, of us communicating spiritually with the plant kingdom and the mineral kingdom. Because all these diseases have a healing. There is nothing that does not have medicine, but in reality, there is nothing that may not have a medicine. What planet would it be if there was some evil that didn't have medicines? So we are very distant from knowing the plant kingdom, because if we knew the plant kingdom from within, we would notice in the changes of those species, in the changes of that plant kingdom, we would see all remedies, all forms of treating the evils that are arising now, because nothing is fixed. Something bad that had never been here before can emerge, but the plant kingdom is a kingdom in eternal transformation. So if there is a new disease in the plant kingdom, the medicine must be emerging. This is within the law of perfect balance. So you see what a crop sector could be. So it is a field of dreams. I say a field of dreams because in the face of these things, in certain moments we need to dream, because materially we don't have any news. But we have proof that in dreams, many people have indications that no one else has about the use of plants, minerals, and even health treatments. So, when there is no treatment for certain things for us, it's because we have not discovered them yet, because we haven't noticed them yet, because we don't know them, because it's all there. Not only in the material field, but also in the subtle plane of plants. You see, certain medicines are made with the plants. Other medicines are more subtle, or subtler. You know, homeopathy and others, they are subtler. And just as there is homeopathy that deals with the etheric plane of plants and minerals, there are other ways which haven't been discovered, which are even more subtle, and that has to do with that plant. So eventually, we could have a treatment with plants or minerals, not in the physical plane, and not in the etheric plane like homeopathy, but we could have a treatment with plants and minerals eventually in the astral plane, eventually in the mental plane, because plants are also in the astral plane, and we don't know if our meeting with them in the astral plane, we don't know the effect it could produce. There could be things, there could be situations within us that medications could not solve in the physical plane or in the etheric plane of subtle medications. But this does not mean that we cannot find the plant, the mineral in the astral plane. And in the astral plane, it could work on our astral plane or on our astral body. And from the astral body, the effect of that plant could reach the physical plane. But for a medical science to reach this, it would be necessary for crops to follow this line and include all of this. So, for example, if I have the possibility of having intuition on this, or if I have some affinity with plants, with minerals, If I feel that I have a work to have my sector of crops, the sector of crops should be open to receive those people, because it's not just about planting and harvesting. The work of the crop sectors also does take care of these things in the other planes, in the astral plane, the mental plane, because plants do not have a developed mind yet, but there are devas in the mental plane. So we are taking care of crops eventually in the mental plane, in contact with mental devas, and in the mental plane they could transmit to our mind not only knowledge, but they could transmit energy. When we deal with plants and minerals, we could have the right energy, the right impulse for this. So you see how this subject is wide, and how it could have a lot of effects, much more than it has had. This kingdom, the plant kingdom, has something in particular, which is fragrance, which is the scent. And if you read the thought of the day for today, is written, allow your life to be like the one of the rose, which in silence speaks the language of fragrance. So, fragrances, perfumes, the aromas of these flowers, of these plants, are there to impel the fragrance of our lives, because we're not the roses who will be perfumed, but our lives could be perfumed. Our lives could have that emanation that in the plant kingdom corresponds to the perfume, to the fragrance of roses. You see how many things we have to learn, and we reached a certain point because we can admire flowers, we can love flowers. This is something already, because through this contact, through this relationship with those plant beings which have a scent, it's through this that chemically, in a hidden way, in our hidden chemistry, something happens, that our lives have a different, there is no word, they will have a different scent. We don't have a word that corresponds to perfume for our lives, and that may not sound ridiculous because perfumes are flowers, but what about life? There is no word in the same level. So we have many things to learn with this kingdom. We have many things to develop within us while we take care of these kingdoms. And this is the plant kingdom, is the kingdom that has most fulfilled its destiny on earth. Among all the other kingdoms on earth, the plant kingdom is the one that has fulfilled the most. And it hasn't done more, and it hasn't improved itself more. The plant kingdom don't have even more perfect things than flowers. It could have, but it's because of the psychic situation of the planet and humanity that does not allow it. So we have a kingdom that is restrained, a kingdom that could have gone, and it could go in the new earth, a kingdom that can go much beyond the perfection of flowers. It could go much beyond it. It has the capacity, but the psychic atmosphere of the earth does not allow it. The earth must be a little more subtle. The world needs to transform a little. Us who deal with plants must be more subtle, so that these flowers, or the perfection of this kingdom, can express itself even more. It is the kingdom that has accomplished itself the most, but we can't say that it's completely accomplished, because it could be much more than it is if the psychic plane of the earth allowed it. At this moment, the Devic plane has a sector which is linked to the planet Venus, and this Devic sector connected with planet Venus is taken care of it's taken care of giving life to certain plants which must manifest on earth a beauty that is even greater than the one that the plant kingdom has manifested. So we see a forest, or we see a garden, a crop, or we see a plant, or we see a seed. That is a Devic work there, connected with the planet Venus, connected to that planet. Even more perfect and beautiful creatures, and we could be in contact, in telepathy with this, even if it's not manifesting because the psychic situation of the planet does not allow it, but we could be in contact with this in other planes. We could be participating in this fulfillment, in this beauty. So we could be in the face of nature, of our human process, with a lot of detachment for everything that is material, because in this feeling of detachment, in this feeling, in this purity of intentions, there is the possibility of these things communicating with us. So I'm talking about these things, and many could be wondering, but why would someone tell about this in the School of Agriculture? Because to communicate with this, you don't need to be working in agriculture, you don't need to understand much about crops. These are different channels. What we need is purity of intentions. What we need is simplicity of mind and soul. It does not mean a restrained mind, but it means a mind that is not distorted and that could capture something simple. And we don't need to understand about agriculture for this. You could discover the medicine for a disease that no one knows without being a doctor or working in agriculture. That came to you because of your state of soul, because of your intention of being before these things. So even if we haven't been in some agriculture school, and if we're not in the sector of crops, we could be in this work. We can all be in this. And being in this work and bathed by these things, the sector of crops will have a different stimulation, will have a different energy, will have a different basis here among us to manifest certain things. This current agriculture activity, however knowledgeable about the techniques, I'm talking about the real, honest agriculture workers, it must include a collaboration with these kingdoms. It must include a collaboration with the plant. So if I am taking care of a garden, if I am planting, I must be there with the intention of collaborating with that, collaborating with the perfection of that, with the life of it, and not just with the intentions of harvesting. This mentality shouldn't be present in this way in our sector of crops, because these things enter easily even if we do not realize it. So the sector of crops should keep this in mind. We're not just having some useful activity, but we're having a collaboration with these things, and from that many things will come. Because if I'm really collaborating with all of this, of course that I won't force a plant too much for it to bear fruits in certain regions, because if you force it, it will give it. But I don't think this is correct. I don't know if this will actually help the plant to develop itself, but in a meeting of crops, we should bring these things up and talk about these and see these things emerging. So really, the love of all and the collaboration of all is being requested so that the sector of crops may reach this level, because there is the intention of doing this. At this moment, there is even a group of sustenance for the sector. There is a group of sustenance formed by 7 people, a group here in Figueira helping. So we are in a very important moment for us to renew our intentions and renew our mentality about the sector. So this is not a sector where only people who can work hard can do, as it's said. This is not a sector that is not for delicate people or for people who cannot be by the sun. These are all distorted ideas. This is not real, because in the sector of crops there is a room, there is a place for all kinds of people, there is a room even for those who cannot touch planting tools because they have back problems. It depends on how we see this sector, and it depends on the work that we were born to do with these kingdoms and all of this. The earth must be prepared. The planet should be prepared to receive certain plant species that are in formation and that the Devak plane is forming. Planet Earth needs to prepare for this, and in this preparation, our preparation is included the preparation of humanity, of human beings, of humankind. So it's necessary for us to connect with this subject, for us to remain connected, because we could be someone who will be an important puzzle piece externally, innerly, somehow. Our presence as a consciousness in a work like this could determine impulses to this work. You don't need to be working with the crops directly. Eventually, of course, they will need people who are conscious working directly with the soil, because the soil will react according to our vibration. So the better the vibration of the person dealing with it, the better the development of the plant and all this. And we need a more truthful contact with this kingdom in this stage of the planet, and in this stage in which new species are being created and new species are even emerging to start existing. We would have to keep in mind the capacity that the plant kingdom has of transmuting, because if we recognize this capacity of transmutation of the plant kingdom, when we are in contact with the plant kingdom, we can impel this capacity of transmutation in our bodies. Our beings can learn with the plant kingdom about transmutation a lot in the inner planes. So if I'm dealing with plants and the plant kingdom, I am dealing with perfection on this planet of the work of transmutation. So I am there going through. If I am in contact with plants, if I am dealing with plants, if I am part of this work of plants, I am very naturally learning how to transmute. They are doing our transmutation. Our aura is going through that process of transmutation with it. So going through some learning experience which is hidden. That is why certain plants, some species that are large, must be taken care with details of harmony, because those large plants that seem very strong, they are the ones who take on the worst transmutations, the densest transmutations, and it will be a large plant that will transmute it and work on it. So you need to treat that large plant as if it was very delicate. You should dedicate yourself to it as if you were dedicating yourself to a deva, something very delicate, because it's a very sensitive kingdom, and these things also answer as we respond as conscious beings in the face of this. And the most subtle transmutations of astral emanations, mental emanations, more delicate plants and smaller plants can deal with these, and we shouldn't be with plants as if we were vampires. We should be there collaborating with it, helping all of that to develop, and our work of transmutation could be facilitated a lot, and we would learn in a much more perfect way. But for this, we need to be in contact with that kingdom. We need to work with that kingdom. We need to have communion with that kingdom. We need dedication to that kingdom. Certain plants develop qualities of certain energies. And at this moment, there is the possibility of these very same plants acquiring new qualities of different energies. The first ray, which is this aspect of will, is bringing a development to the plant kingdom that allows it to have different qualities of different rays, because the plant kingdom is in the second, the fourth, and the sixth rays. But the first ray currently has the capacity for it to develop and manifest the first, the third, the fifth, and the seventh ray. So all of us is connected to one of these kingdoms, of these rays, and we are all useful in this work with plants. All of us, that means our race, our energies, because today we could be before a plant that is manifesting a certain ray. We could be in the face of a flower manifesting the second and the fourth ray with perfection. And our energy there could be there helping that plant to recognize a different ray, a different energy. And that flower could be much more perfect, could be much more wide and greater. Therefore, its qualities and capacities could increase a lot. And the same plant which was known for certain aspects, we would discover new aspects to that plant, which have never been shown, but it has a new ray which was able to enter it. The plant kingdom is open to this. And today we have the capacity of accompanying these things. We have the capacity of collaborating with these things. But first, we would need to erase everything that was there about the work with crops, and we would need to enter a new dimension with this work, enter a new stage with this group so that we can really broaden, not only increase the lands and plant more and more and have more and more lands to plant. This is also widening, but without the other one, this will be very incomplete. And it seems that the moment has come for us to take care of this part, not only because of this question, but because of many signs that we have been receiving, and because of the need that we would have in the sector of healing and health to have knowledge to face certain diseases and certain things which will come with a new knowledge, with a greater and wider knowledge. So here, we do not have any books of agriculture to offer you, but we suggest you to read Our Life in Dreams, because you will find many keys to enter this world, to enter these contacts and start working in this way. And the sector of crops will be very thankful if we are all attuned with this line.